in this video, we are going to talk about a very important feature that Salesforce provide called approval process. Approval process is one of the feature that Salesforce provide as out of the box. Any business that you would be working, they would definitely need the approval process in place for some or other reason. Let's go ahead and understand about a requirement where we need to implement the approval process, and then we will see how that can be implemented through Salesforce approval process. Okay, so by the meaning, I hope you understand what would be the use of approval process in the system. I was recently helping again another customer, and the sales executive was actually about to give a kind of a discount to their customer, right? But before they give the discount, they had an approval process in place. So they had to trigger an approval to their manager. The manager would have got the approval of whatever discount that the customer is looking for. If the manager is approving, then the sales guy can go and convert the lead into account contact opportunity, or sales guy can go and do the next steps. So here approval is required. Another example could be, let's say a customer is looking for a product which the salesperson have to check whether the product already exists in the inventory or not. For that, an approval will go to, let's say, the manager first, who is supposed to take the order. Then same approval will go to the inventory manager to approve whether the good is already available in the inventory or not. Or let's say once this is done, another approval will go to the finance department, whether the customer had some previous dues or not, right? So once this three department approves it, probably the salesperson can go ahead and do the next step with the customer. That's a typical approval process requirement. Okay, so approval process might come into the picture anytime whenever the sales executive needs something to be approved by the hierarchy managers, by multiple people, or maybe the one single people, or maybe the direct manager, or whomever. This is where approval process comes in the picture. The example that we are going to discuss today is on lead object. So when you create a new lead, in lead object there's a field called product interest. So we have these three products. Okay, suppose the customer wants to buy this particular product, GC 1000 series. So at any point of time, if a lead is being created or updated with product interest as GC 1000 series, then what will happen? The owner, as of now, the owner is supposed to send the approval process, right? So the owner will send an approval to the immediate manager of this particular owner, right? And the manager either will approve or reject, or maybe reassign this approval to someone else. Okay, so we'll go ahead and implement this approval process in the system, and we'll see how to do this. So the requirement is clear. The requirement is the owner will submit for this approval whenever a lead gets created or updated with product interest as GC 1000. Now let's go and create this approval process. So we as an admin have to onboard the approval process inside the system, correct? So as an admin, once you understand the requirement, have to go to the setup, and in the setup we have something called approval process. Just open the approval process over here. Okay, once you open the approval process, I think I've already opened it. Let me close that. Once you open the approval process, it asks you that whether you want to create a new approval. If it is, then select the object. See, we have these many objects. Now let's say I want to create the approval process for opportunity or lead or any other object. As of now, I have selected lead as the object for which I want to create the approval process. Now if you see here, there is another approval process had already been created for lead, and which is inactive, which is not active. There could be multiple approval process created. Some process will be active, some process will not be active, right? Only the active approval process will fire whenever a lead gets created or updated. Okay, so one more thing here, you cannot delete an approval process. Let's say I had created this approval process and I want to delete it, right? You got an error over here. Approval process has been associated with any record or an object, you can't delete it. So I'll go back. I have no active approval process. So what I'll do, I have selected lead over here. I'm going to go and create a use jumpstart wizard. Okay, this is how we can create an approval process. Either you select this, if you select the standard setup wizard, then 2-3 steps you have to perform, like giving name and other things you have to perform manually, or if you directly select jumpstart wizard, you will be redirecting to this page. I have given a name called lead approval based on the product interest. So I have given a name here. Then here you have to specify the criteria. See, any automations that you do inside Salesforce should have a criteria, like workflow process builder. This is also one of the automations that we are performing, right? This also need one criteria to be checked. So in this case, my criteria should be lead product interest. If you scroll down, MNOP, right? Product interest is equals to the first product GC 1000 series. Okay. So whenever a lead gets created or updated, if the product interest is equals to this, then you have to understand this 4 option. Okay. First option, it is asking you as an admin that who should be the approver. So you as an admin have understood the customer requirement. Customer said whenever a lead gets created with product interest is equal to this, an approval will go to someone. Okay, now let's decide who should be the someone, right? Who will be the approver? First, every user, right? If I show you here, if I go to users, see, every user has a standard manager field. I think we discussed this in the hierarchy relationship. Yeah. So if I open this user called Rajesh Chatterjee, see this user, I think I had selected testing user. So if you see this user named Rajesh Chatterjee as testing user as the manager. So if I set automatic approval, and if the record owner is Rajesh, then all the approvals will go to testing users, which we'd be doing in this case because I have only 2 users, one Rajesh Chatterjee, one this testing user. Okay, so I have made testing user as the manager of Rajesh Chatterjee. Cool. Now what I'll do is I will go back to the page approval process. Here we are. So let's understand the first option. The first option says that let the submitter choose the approver manually. What do you mean by this? It means, suppose I am creating a new lead and the lead owner is me, right? Rajesh Chatterjee. And I want to manually click on this submit button. And when I click on this manual submit button, I will give some command. And if I click on the submit, right, it will allow me. Right now there is no approval process created, so it is giving me an error. But immediately once I submit, right, it will ask me, hey, do you want to submit this approval process to which user? So you as a submitter has to choose who should be your approver. You got it? If you want this to happen manually, I mean, if you as the submitter will be going to click on this button, and after you click on submit, it should ask you to select who should be the approver. If you want this to happen, then you have to select the first radio button. The first radio button says let the submitter choose the approver manually. So the submitter will choose who should be the approver. Second, automatically assign an approver using a standard or custom hierarchy. What do you mean by standard or custom hierarchy? Standard hierarchy means manager. It means every single user should have a manager specified, and whenever, let's say I as Rajesh Chatterjee is submitting this particular record for an approval, my manager, whoever is defined, in this case testing user is my manager, would be getting the approval, right? If you select the second option which says automatically assign an approver using a standard or custom hierarchy, then the manager field will automatically get the approval. So once you select the manager as the automatic assign approver, right, either you can select a manager, because manager is the standard hierarchy field. If you have any custom hierarchy field, that also can be selected. Okay, so once you select that manager, what you have to do is you have to click on next, save. The third radio button is basically if you have a queue. You know what is queue, right? Queue means over here, right? Let me see if I have already created few queues I can use. So queues are the group of users who could be the owner, right? I don't have any queue. Let me just quickly create a new queue. Give a name. What would be the queue name? Let's say, a lead approvers. Okay, that's the queue name, and these would be available for lead object. And in this queue, who are the people? Let's say I'm adding testing user, Rajesh Chatterjee. Both of this user I'm adding in this particular queue. Save. Now, if you as an admin want to assign this particular approval process to this particular queue, and inside the queue who all are there? Rajesh Chatterjee and testing user. Then in this case, you have to select the third option, and you have to select the queue that you have created, lead approvers. If you want everybody from that user from the queue should get the approval, and after they get the approval, they might approve, reject, or recall. If you want this to happen, then you have to select the third option called automatically assign to a queue. So you as an admin first have to get ready with the queue, add the people inside the queue, and use that queue over here in this radio button called as automatically assign to the queue. Okay, now fourth radio button says, if you remember the example that we discussed, where I said that first approval will go to the manager, then the inventory manager will get whether the actually the good is available in the inventory or not, and then maybe the finance manager will approve, correct? The finance manager will check whether is there any due or is there any pending payment are there for this particular customer or not, and then he will approve. So if business want multiple approvers to approve this particular record, then you have to select as an admin automatically assign to approvers. Okay, so after you select this, you have to keep adding those people. Let's say I'm selecting here Rajesh, and do you see a button called add row? Click on add row, select one more user, testing user. All right, click on add row, select one more user. So like that, you can add multiple users as the approvers. So what will happen? Not one user, multiple, whatever users that you're defining in this list, everybody will get the approval. Okay, now next thing is business might say that, you know what, everybody in this list has to approve. If that is the case, then you have to go ahead with the second radio button called require anonymous approval from all the selected approvers. It means if there are 10 people in this list, and if business want every single person to approve, then only the record will be approved. Then you have to select this second radio button. Or if the business said that, you know what, whoever out of this 10 people, right, whoever approve this request first, this record like the lead record will be approved. If that is the case, then you have to go ahead with the first option, which is approve or reject based on the first response. So these many automations that you can do in the part of approvers. Okay, first thing is either the submitter will choose the approver manually. Let's say I'm the submitter, I will be choosing who should be the approver. In this case, there could be an example. Suppose the different product has a different manager, suppose, okay, and I as an approver, I as a submitter, right, I as the lead owner knows that, product name A, I should send this approval to someone named Sam. Product name B, if the product interest is B, I should send this approval to someone named Alex. If I know this, right, then definitely I would go ahead and select the first option. I means the admin, because this entire approval process you as an admin have to build so that the business user, right, can actually use this approval process. So if the business gives you a requirement where they says that, the submitter should be able to choose the approver manually, then you have to go ahead with the first option. If the business said to you that the approval should automatically go to the manager of the submitter, then you have to choose the second option. And we already discussed what is this manager, right? It is basically the field in the user label. Third says that automatically assign to a queue, where if there are multiple users who should be the approvers, then you as an admin first to onboard all these users inside a queue, and then use the queue in the third radio button called automatically assign to queue. And the fourth one says whenever you have multiple users to approve, right, you are not adding them in a queue, and you're just hard coding the approvers, correct? In this case, you have to go ahead and choose the fourth option. In the fourth option, you as an admin, is actually hard coding. You are hard coding the approvers over here, and you are selecting this approval will happen based on the first approval or reject, whatever the first response we get out of these 3 people, whoever will be approving or rejecting. Based on that, based on the first response, it will be either approve or reject, or it required everybody to either approve or reject. So these are the options that you have in the selecting when you select the approvers, right? As of now, just to make this process simple, what I'll do is I will select the first option. First option says that let the submitter choose the approver manually. Okay, click on save. Once you save this, you got something to do in the approval process. So let me just click on this view approval process detail page. Okay, scroll down, you will see this view approval process detail page. Go to this page. Let me explain this page to you. Okay, first thing is, in this page you are able to see the definition of the approval that you have defined, right? The name of the approval, what is the criteria, record editability. Now this is a very important point. See, what do you mean by approval? Approval means a record which is supposed to be approved by someone. Now, until and unless if that record has been approved, do you think that data should be editable? No, right? In this case, that's what it defines here. Record editability, it should go only with the admin. So only the admin, after a record been submitted for the approval, should be able to edit or update. Okay, this approval process has not been activated so far. Okay, let's go ahead and understand what are the different automations that we can perform in the approval process. Okay, so this is little lengthy journey. Okay, you have to first understand the requirement, and there are so many things we do in approval process. So first automation that we do in the approval process is, whenever a record is submitted for the approval, what should happen? Correct? Let's say I, as a submitter, I'm clicking on the submit for approval button, giving my comment, and click on submit. Whenever I submit this record for an approval, let's say I want something to happen in the system. If that is the case, then you as an admin have to go and define that automation over here in this initial submission actions. By the way, when I say automation, you can perform the same automation that we have already performed in the workflow. Either we can create a new task, or we can do a field update, or an outbound message can be sent. So it's basically the same actions that we had already performed in the workflow. Okay, so in the initial submission, let's say you want to send an email. You as a business user have decided that email should go to the record owner saying this record name this has been submitted for the approval. That's the initial submission action. If you want this email to go automatically, then you have to perform that thing over here. So let's say I want to send the email to the lead owner saying whenever a record has been submitted for the approval, I want to send an email to someone saying the record has been submitted for the approval. For that, I need to have an email template. Correct? So because email alert needs what? It's an email template is what you have to associate with the email alert. So let's go ahead and create the email template first. Okay, I already created few email templates. And I'm gonna create just one email template called, see this template I have already created. Okay, I'm gonna use the final approval template whenever you know this record has been approved by the approver. So let's say that if the record has been approved by the approver, okay, and then you want to perform an email automations, you want the system to fire an email to the record owner saying, hey record owner, this record has been approved. If you want to do that, then you have to perform that email template thing over here, right? You have to create a new email alert here. Or let's say once the record has been rejected by the approver, if you want the system to fire an email to the record owner saying, hey, your the record has been rejected, then you have to perform the email template over here. Or if you want the system to fire the email alert whenever a record has been recalled, right, by the approver, then you have to perform the email alert over here. Got it? So I have created this 3 email template that I'm going to use for the final approval, final rejection, final recall, right? I'm going to create one more email template for the initial submission action. Let me just copy this name. I think you have already remembered that how did we create the email templates. It's a new template, and last time we created the template with custom. This time also I'm creating with custom. Make sure this is available to use, right? And subject is initial submission actions. Okay, next. Now you have to give some name. Okay, this is the name. Okay, and I want subject to be like this: record is been submitted for approval. Okay, that should be the subject. Next, here you have to give the body hi. I'm quickly writing this up. Okay, so I have created this template. I have written like hi space, correct? The lead name, this is the merge field that I have used, has been submitted for the approval. Thanks. Okay, just clicking on next and save. Okay, so now this particular email template I'm gonna use over here in the initial submission action. So let me create a new email alert and give a same name, this one, initial submission. And this email template that I have created right now, just select that email template. Email template name is initial submission actions. Okay, and who will get the email? Let's say the owner will receive the email. The owner will receive the email saying this record has been submitted for the approval. And because this is the same email alert that we have already used in the workflow, that you see here, that you can add 5 maximum additional email address, and we already discussed this, right? Where if you have any email address already defined in the organization wide email address, then you can use that email address as the form email address. Okay, just save this. I'm done with the first automation, right? So first automation is whenever the record has been submitted for the approval, an email will go to the owner saying this record has been submitted, and immediately the record will be locked. Do you see this? Lock the record from being edited. It means the record has been submitted, then what is the use of editing the record? So the record has been locked, so nobody can edit it apart from admin, by the way. Now approval steps is this is the first approval steps, right? If you see here, I have not defined any approval final approval actions. So if you click on show action, nothing has been defined so far in this particular portion, right? This is same like this. It means, let me just quickly add a final approval. Okay, so final approval, yep, and this time the template should be final approval, which I have already created. And who will receive the email? The owner again. Save. So if the I had already created one template here, so it is giving me an error, so I'm just giving that version 1. Okay, so I am done with the initial submission actions. Whenever the record has been submitted for the approval, an email will go to the owner. Then I am done with the final approval actions. Means whenever a record has been submitted for the approval, and if the approver approves it, then email will go. And then I'm adding one more action here called rejection action. Means if the approver rejected, then what should happen? See, it's not that you have to add email alert every time. Either you can add email alert or field update or task. That's it. But you cannot do so many things here. Okay, only these 4 things that you can do in any of these steps. Cool. So I'm selecting this email alert and final rejection. I have to give version 1 because there's already email template created. Name final rejection. This time the template should be final rejection. Okay, and who should be getting the email? The owner. So selected owner, not selecting anything else. Just click on save. Okay, so my final approval, final rejection is also done. And if you want to perform the same thing for the recall, right? If the record has been recalled, right, and you want to let me just quickly create this also. So I'm creating one more email alert, name final recall. Okay, this time the template, I have already created a template called final recall. Got it? Then who will be getting it? Owner. Okay, so here I'm done with all the automations. Means whenever record gets submitted, email will go. Whenever somebody approve, email will go to the owner. Whenever somebody reject, again owner will receive the email. Or if the record has been recalled, right, then again email will go to the owner, say, hey, this record has been recalled. Got it? So I'm done with the end-to-end setup. Let me quickly activate this approval process and let's go ahead and test it.